All right. Hello, everyone. We are now live. And yeah, so today's going to be a fun day. We're going to be showing a lot of the new physics in the game, kind of demonstrating what things are doing right and what things have changed and what things may have affected your builds. So I'm pretty sure if you have logged into your world, you may see something like this happening with your builds to where they're kind of stuck in the air maybe because they used to be on the ground, but now they're up in the air. So we're going to kind of go over a lot of those changes, see how those affect you in particular. And yeah, and then from there we're going to talk about the new floating physics as well that have been added to the game, as well as some other gameplay changes that have taken place. So it should be a fun stream. Stay tuned, it's informational. And so I'm going to make some changes here, and I'm going to go ahead and fly over and grab one of my vehicles real quick. So I'm heading over to what I call the land of misfit toys. This is where a lot of stuff goes, to where it is. I've had some inspiration from, some changes, just different things that have happened. And yeah, so for me in particular, this has happened. So I've got vehicles that used to land on the ground and now are floating in the air. These two are identical builds. The only difference is the platforms beneath them, and you will see they are actually resting at two different heights. So that is something that we've known about, but if your builds are balanced perfectly, you're going to notice some of these features. And I'll go over all of that in particular when we get into the stream a little bit more. So hello everybody. Thank you for joining in. We're going to have a fun day, even in this weather. But that will all change in just a few moments. So hopefully you all have been enjoying the new game so far. I know I have been. A lot of changes for sure. And a whole lot of fun gameplay. So I know yesterday I got to team up with Sir Laughs-a-Lot, and both he and I got to tackle the Storm King first thing in the morning in survival world, and then ended up tackling the Storm King later on the evening in a sandbox world with Mile Cook, who I think is on right now, also known as the Angry Moose. So thank you for joining in. It was a long day for me yesterday. It was 14 hours worth of gameplay and sitting in front of this computer getting stuff done. So a lot of work. Okay, so yeah, let's get this party started. I'm going to talk about a little bit about the game physics that we discovered a while back, and I'm going to go over what some of those changes are. So I'm going to do that by building my scale first. The game does not want me to build a scale. Alright, we got to figure out what's going on here. Let me build a scale earlier, but now it's not wanting to, so let's figure out what's going on. Here we go. So when it comes time to game physics, there's a couple of things going on that happens with Lego Fortnite in particular, and I'll share those with all of you. So with the introduction of the swivels, These are flexible in nature to where if you go to one end, it tips. You go to the other end, it tips back. And so this allows you to essentially come up with a working scale. And so if I were to take a piece of material and I put it on one side, let's get an 8x here, you'll notice that the scale does tip in one direction. It tips in one direction in favor of the added weight. Okay, so if I take the weight off, you will see that the scale will balance out if I shift my weight over to here a little bit, and then if I go down this way, you'll see that my character is heavier than the piece that's on there, so it's going to go tip higher. Okay, so if I jump off, you'll see that this tips in that direction. Okay, so what we learned before in doing a lot of our testing, and I was simulating a lot of this again to find out if what has changed, and the reality of it is not much in terms of some of the standard weight variations. Now, there's two things to consider. There's going to be physical weight on the ground, and there's going to be buoyancy in terms of what it takes to float something. Okay, so the game has two different physics going on. So if I actually take a stack of granite and compared the weight to a stack of wood, it kind of looks like the wood is a little heavier. That's not the case. If you look, it all balances out. So in reality, physical weight on the ground, wood is the same weight as granite given the same size. Okay, so that's what we found in an earlier video. Now if we were to take a stack of granite and float it with a balloon, welcome, Level Up Royal and Sir Laughs a Lot. If we take that same exact stack and we attempt to float it, you're going to see that it has a different weight physics. So floating is a completely different physics inside the game than that of physical weight. So the scale here tells us that the physical weight is the same, but the balloons tell us that it is not. It is different. Okay, so if we take different materials, so this is this should be 9 stacks high. So if we take 9 stacks high of different materials, these are 16 buys, you're going to see a difference in height. Okay, so the top one is wood, the bottom one is granite, and we're going to pick a different material here. And we're going to select one that is marble. Oh, this is getting hard to see. Okay, hang on, let me go sleep for a minute. All right, now we're back. We can see a lot better. Three, 4. Oh, we have granite right there. Hang on, let's try a different material. This is marble. So what's on the ground is marble. So we're going to float. Let's try different material. We'll try. This is granite. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put on a balloon. And then release it. So this is marble right here, 9 stacks high. This is wood 9 stacks high. And this is granite 9 stacks high, which is actually floating a little bit further. Okay, so you can see when it comes to floating physics, the material matters. Okay, but when it comes to physical weight, which you'd think they'd be the same, they are not in this game. Okay, so we see that granite is lighter than wood, but marble is the heaviest of them all to float. So technically, if we put granite on this side, in theory we should see this change in weight. But you see it balances back out. So that's something really, really unique to the game. That's something to always consider, because physics are different in the game. You know, from this perspective, you think that everything weighs the same depending on size. And then from this perspective, it looks like there's different weights if you float things in the air. And it is. The answer is both is true. Okay, so you got different weight physics. Weight plays a role into how high something will float, or the type of material will play a role in how high the type of material will float. So this is important. So if you're building something, like we saw back earlier there in the beginning, I had 2 different aircraft that were built exactly the same with 2 different platforms. You see they were sitting at various heights. And this is the reason why, is because the materials will float differently with balloons attached to them. Okay? Hopefully that makes a little bit of sense. But yet, physically, on the ground, you see that they equate to the same. And again, if I stand on this side, you'll see it tips. And then if I go to this side, you'll see it tips in the other direction. Okay? So that's something kind of unique to the game. So you say, well, what has changed? Why are things doing what they are doing? And so I use this scale here to determine what has changed. And I have found some answers to those questions. So I'm going to clear this out real quick. Because I like to use this for comparative purposes. And so, just for notes, the reason I know these stacks, if you watch my video on the game physics with regards to balloons and thrusters, none of that has changed. So those physics still remain the same. And what has changed is the floating part of it, in terms of materials being sought after. Okay, so, and then one of the new changes is this. So this tires used to essentially, they've always weighed the same physically. Okay, what has changed is what it takes to float a tire. That has changed. So the physics here, where you see where the type of material, it goes up higher, 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 depending on what it is. That's what changed with the tires. Okay, so that principle on the tires changed. The physical weight did not. They still have weight. Everybody said, or everybody was under the impression that the weight of the tire has changed. And the truth is, the weight of the tire is technically the same in terms of a scale, but the way it floats in the game is different now. And so that's why, if you have assemblies that have tires, yeah, they're going to do different things. And so that includes anything that is an aircraft. So because I have balloons attached to these, they are flying differently as well. Okay, this one in particular, I just balanced this back out this morning, but this one in particular used to have 2 balloons, one on either side. The 2 balloons is what it took to keep this plane active and flying very well. But for me to balance this out, I ended up switching to 1 balloon, and then I had to change one small dynamic up front. And now this plane flies just as good. Okay, so the other thing too is, if you haven't noticed this, if you let go of your controls or your mouse, your view will also recenter. So that's something that's new. So normally I like to fly, take recordings or screenshots. So I'll leave it in this position if I want, and I go to do the snapshot, and then next thing I know, my view changes. So that's something new. I'm not sure if we can change that later on, but I did like it the way it was. So we're going to go ahead and bring this plane back in. Now I'm recorded live right now, so you know, if I don't land this thing, you're free to giggle and pick on me for not landing my own planes correctly on my runway here. All right. So that's one aircraft that relies on the planes. Now, when they become centric on balloons, so this one in particular, that plane relies on thrust for the lift. Okay. So in this particular case, there's no additional balloons that pop up. The way it's built is the way it stays. Now I have another class of aircraft. Okay, so this one has no additional balloons as well. As the thrust engages, it will take off. But this type of aircraft here relies on balloon mechanics. Okay, so this does not have upward lifting thrusters. It simply relies on balloons. So I'm going to take off. This particular build, this was part of my video series as well. This is and was the most stable flying aircraft I have ever built. Period, hands down, end of story. If you are looking for the easiest aircraft to fly, this is 100% hands down the one that is. See, it doesn't tilt, rock, just nice and graceful. And so physics for this one, if you don't know, the wheels are centered on this one. Okay, so because the tires are centered, the weight balance remained the same on this particular aircraft. It just got a little lighter, which means the ride height of this particular type of aircraft changed. So this went up a little bit higher because of the physics of the balloon, or the tires did change. So if you have an aircraft like this that relies on the physics associated with the balloons for height, then you may or may not be affected more so than the others. So these types of builds, I call these terminal height, because they're going to reach a specific height and that's where they're going to go. They're going to stop. If you're relying on thrusters, that's where things may change. So yeah, so this type of aircraft, excellent build. Easy to fly. Like I said, this one in particular is probably my most stable aircraft out of the whole batch. Super fun to fly. All right, let's see. We need landing gear and another channel. Let's see, something that pops out in different options, like something that could be tires and something like helicopter runners. Yeah, all of that would be great additions for sure. There are a couple of builders that I know of in particular that attempted to put together some landing gear on different aircraft, both successful and unsuccessful because of the mechanics involved to do it. So you're kind of giving up channels to do it, or the mechanics just aren't quite there stability and strength wise. So that would be nice. As far as having more channels, I'm not opposed to more channels. Although I did do a video quite a while ago where I said, I just want one more channel. And that one more channel we got. So we got it in the form of the 4th channel. I've been very successful in having just 4 channels, but then now as I play more, I keep asking for not just one, I kind of want 2 more channels in particular. So yeah, I think they can never give us enough channels. Let's see, we had the ability to program balloons on channels. That's been great. What I would like is for swivels to go on channels next as well. So if you're listening, Fortnite, we'd like the channels to go on swivels as well. All right, let's see what else. Okay, so some of the other changes that have affected this game, both positive and maybe negative, it's hard to say. I have typically built a lot of my aircraft out of various materials. So you see all of this, and those do very, very well. But when it comes time to my vehicle builds itself, I'm going to show you a stripped down version of a basic vehicle. I typically use frost pine frames, okay, and then I build a lot of stuff around the frost pines. You can see it's kind of hidden in there, that type of thing. And so that's what I do, and I have always built that because of the strength. But here's something new about the game that a lot of people don't realize or may not realize yet. I don't know exactly what this means, but before, if you punched frostpine, it wouldn't do anything. Now if you're punching frostpine, it will break. Okay, that's that kind of says that it's going to be a little weaker. But is it? Is the next question. So I'm going to hop in this vehicle here. This is a basic vehicle. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go find some rocks. We're going to run them over because now this is telling us that maybe it's a little bit more fragile. But we're going to see if that is the case or is not. Let's go see if we can find some stuff to run over. I've pretty much run over everything close to me in other tests. Let's see. Okay, there's a rock. And there's a rock. And here's a batch of rocks right here. Okay, so trees, rocks, we are still breaking them. Okay, so that's okay. For whatever reason, it's allowing us to punch frostpine to break. So that's okay, but it may affect some of the builds. We're about to test and see if it's still bulletproof for explosives, so we'll test that. In case you need a place to stay, I have the Bates Motel. And so if you're ever in the area, feel free to come by, hang out. I rent the rooms out. And yeah, that should be fun. Okay, back to the regularly scheduled programming. So Frostpine. Frostpine used to be unbreakable for explosives. Is that the case now? Let's find out. The answer is explosives will take it out. So if you have boom barrel type launching systems, Frostpine is not, I repeat, not going to work. And so Sir Lancelot brings up a good point. Does that mean you can punch frostpine trees? If you look at these, this is a thicker trunk, you still can't punch these. If you go to the thin ones, you still can punch them. Those you cannot. So it's just going to be the same thing. You can't punch frostpine trees with your hand. But does that mean it's weaker? Hard to say. Let's try something. If you are auto harvesting, if you are auto harvesting, oh, I gotta move. Oh, let me put another block. Hang on. I'm gonna make this easy on myself. Hang on. And let's see, we're getting there. Okay, if you auto harvest, that works. The next question is, will this same setup work in Frostpine? That's going to be the best question. And let's head out to someplace cold. And so let's take a flight. So here we go. We're going to fly over the hotel, if you're interested. So in the meantime, let's catch up on chat. Choked on the coffee when that blew up. Yeah, that's kind of a big change. I did not anticipate that. There's one more that goes along with it that I'll show here in a minute. But we want to find out if we can auto-harvest Frostpine, because this was a big thing at one point. Let's see. So can we punch the thinner ones? No, we still cannot punch the thinner ones, kind of like the other ones. But can we harvest them? We'll try this here. That might be a hair too close. We'll find out. And the answer is yes, we can auto farm Frostpine. So that's going to be a huge thing for those of you who want to make kind of a cool car that harvests this materials. So that's good news. That's definitely good news. I did not anticipate that, but that's where we are. All right, so one of the big other changes, right? So we now can punch Frostpine, right? But then the question then becomes, can we now punch granite like we used to? And the answer is no. Okay, you cannot punch granite anymore. So that's kind of unique. Welcome, Serto, to the stream. We're going over some of the new game physics and some of the stuff that has changed. And so far I've talked about the materials in the floating side of the house. And so now we're going to go back and see where this takes us. So that little vehicle I built earlier, or that I drove around a little bit earlier, we're going to get to this right now. So this one is set up to just be a basic flyer, right? But let's say I wanted to convert something this small to be a harvester. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to break a tire first off. Is all the wood downgraded to common? In terms of a resource, it's becoming a universal resource. So if you notice a lot of your tool building, you can use whatever wood to provide fuel, so on and so forth. Is it considered uncommon? It's the weakest or the lowest grade resource, but not necessarily in terms of strength. It plays other roles, but is it down? Yeah, it's definitely different. So let me get Why do we even want to auto farm frost pine anymore? Got to build vehicles in granite. It still offers a lot of strength in terms of hitting things. Okay, so like this little vehicle, I was running over rocks, wood. I have, I'll demonstrate it again here in a minute, but this vehicle can completely fall completely from terminal height, land, and never break. So it's not brittle from that perspective. So that's the good thing. It's not brittle from that perspective. Oh, I gotta flip this block around. Yeah, the stocks of frostpine just went through the roof. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so this is what I'm going to do here. I'm just making a quick change to this vehicle. That didn't work. And there we go. All right, perfect. And then now we're going to put on our wheel back again, and then we're going to use this to have a little fun. Perfect. All right, so now if we drive around, the prefab stock wood, yes, that is okay. Well, it's not going to work. I'm going to have to put on a another thruster, but I don't want to reconfigure this vehicle. I was trying to do it real quick. That's not going to work. Oh, this one might be stuck now. All right, we're going to leave that one there and continue. Let's see, if granite builds weigh the same as wood builds, I can rework the Alpine cable car using the R&D model. That is correct. So again, back to the weight physics. You have physical weight, so if it's attached to something, then it's going to assume this type of weight where it doesn't matter the material weight. But the moment, here's where it changes. The moment you add a balloon to a device, that is when the weight physics will assume the material differences. Okay, so here we have marble, wood, and granite. So for whatever reason, granite is lighter than wood, and marble's the heaviest. Okay, this platform here is made out of marble. It's also very durable. If you ask me what am I going to start building vehicles out of right now, most likely it's going to be marble moving forward. So I'm going to have some very decorative builds, I guess, is how it's going to work out for me. But the frost pine still holds up if it falls from the sky. I have another one over here, actually. I'll demonstrate that real quick. Where is it at? No, it is not over here. It's in a special area that I can't show what's going on over there just yet. Sorry. So, okay, so that's it for these to consider. But now let's look at the new float physics, how this plays a whole role in it. I'm going to go in. Okay, so normally Those are my exhaust pipes that are at the bottom of the car sticking out to the back, and these are the exhaust manifolds that are attached to the engine. They're not that way right now. Okay, we'll go with it. All right, so now let's make it out to the water. Let's see how all this plays out in terms of you want to see if I can explode granite. Oh, that's a good call there, Mild. Hang on, let's find out. We're going to test granite and marble, because we definitely need something that we cannot explode. So okay. All right, testing granite. And granite does explode. All right, let's test some marble. Marble. So if we punch marble, even marble explodes. So it doesn't seem like we have a material that can withstand the explosion effort right now. So, yeah. Frostpine is not where it's at anymore. I wonder if you could do something with metal. Maybe we'll get some metal floors. Oh, that would be great. Throw a 1 in the chat if we want some metal floors. Let's see, we could try mahogany. No, that's all gonna blow. Oops. Let's see, no, that's gonna cover all the materials. Okay, so we're not having anything that withstands the explosion side. Fewer balloons to lift granite. Yes. Metal floors for the spaceships. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, so I know Mad Puck, he talked about it on his stream earlier, but he said there was a lot of people that did a lot of unique builds using Frostpine because it withstood the explosions, it creates maps that you can't punch your way through, so on and so forth, and quite frankly, this change in physics really kind of messed that up. So okay. Flotation devices now. So we have the new mechanic. There's that new build that just came out, the barge. And so typically I have built boats using different platforms and balloons to get them to stay afloat. But now we have new mechanics with relation to potentially floating. So everything we just learned about tires and balloons, I wanted to see if it also applies to watercraft, since we noticed that there is a change. Plus we have some new platforms that got added to the game as well. And so I'm going to show you the differences between them all. So this is the same basic build, multiple configurations, and I'm going to show the differences between the two, or all the different types. So same basic build. This is taking advantage of vehicle base number 2 and vehicle base number 5 to make that I-frame type of approach. And then I'm using similar pieces, so half slope base number 2 as well as a half slope base number 1. So these are the new mechanics or new pieces that are part of that barge. So I wanted to see the differences. So we're going to start off with the basic one. And as you can see, based on this angle, the water level is going up above the seat a little bit. Does that change the mechanic of it? So let's sit down. We look at it. And with my weight, it's not going any down a little further, but if I stand on it, you'll see that it is doing its thing. Okay, so there's a difference. If we take that same build and we use these new floating pieces that they gave us, if we look on the side, let's go to this side here. If we look on the side, you see that the water level is slightly higher. We're talking about a half, I'm going to call that about a half stud. Okay, so we're going to the very, very, very bottom, halfway up that gray piece on the seat. But then if we compared it over to here, you could see it's about the same. It is about the same. So let's see if we can get seated in this chair. We'll see what it does. You can see that this remains pretty steady with these new pieces. And if I stand at the front, I do go in very similar, but it did go a little slower. So one of the differences that the barge had, that new barge, is it had these pieces along with some tires at the very bottom of it for flotation. And so now I wanted to play around and see what these new simple tires would do added to the same builds. So I'm taking this build that we used in the very beginning. I added some tires, and if we go ahead and go here and look at the side, you're going to see that the water level is much lower on this build with the tires on it. Okay, so tires are flotation devices at this point, and if I sit in it, it stays pretty steady. Looking at it from the side, you can see that the water level is pretty good, but more importantly, if you stand in the front, it's going down a whole lot slower than the way it was, the other ones. Okay, and I thought to myself, does it matter the position of the tires? Hi Panda, welcome to the stream. If you're trying to see the position of the tires, so I had these on the side set a little bit lower, and then these ones I put down at the bottom of it to see if it offers any additional flotation. As I sit in it, you can see that the water level is still very similar to the other one with the tires. And if I stand up front, I go down ever so slow as well. So if you are now building a boat, it is going to be, you can offset a lot of the weight by putting on tires. Okay, that's kind of one of the advantages of putting tires at the bottom of it, and that's also one of the reasons that the new barge has the tires. So if you compare these new pieces versus their original counterparts, not much of a big change. The big change comes with the use of the tires adding some additional buoyancy. If I were to take this same build over here and add, the balloon is going to be too much, by the way, but if I add a balloon, this is just going to float in the air, but you can use balloons to float and do offsets, as we found out that with the difference in materials, the same thing will apply to water physics. Okay, so in other words, what you saw over here, if you decide to build your boat out of water or out of marble in the water, it's going to sink a lot easier. You're going to have to make up for a lot of weight. If you build your boat out of wood, it's definitely a lot lighter. You're going to have to compensate for less with balloons or some type of flotation. And then if you build it out of granite, for some reason your boat's going to be a lot easier to offset the weight if you build it out of granite. So that's unique. So if you are going to rebuild a platform, okay, we're going to try something here. This is going to be our experiment for this particular stream. Let's go ahead and make it daytime real quick. Uh-oh, somebody's getting in trouble for not doing homework. It is not my fault. Okay, so we're going to build the same thing, but out of flat pieces here. And so we're going to build it out of wood, and then it is 2 8x together. This piece right here, this piece from the beachy set's probably my favorite piece to use. I don't know why. Alright, so if we build the same thing, does it float? The answer is yes. You can see part of it's in the water. Water level is higher, and then if we wanted to go ahead and see if we can attach tires to it, will it get better? Well, that is not where I wanted it. All right, we're gonna make this happen. Alright, so we are still sinking just a little bit if we do that. So the tires still do have a physical weight, and if we go in it, it should probably have a sink. Let's see. Alright, but you can see the water level makes it to where it kicks us out of the seat. So in this particular case, if we add a balloon, it's still going to take off. And that's okay. And there it goes. This is also the time where we can see the differences between the bases, the vehicle bases, and the materials. So you can see this vehicle base configuration still weighs more than the wood, which is floating way up in the air, but they definitely floated differently in the water. Okay, this held itself up in the water, so it's got different floating physics itself versus the actual materials. So if you were going to use something as a base, if you were going to use a material as a base here, we are getting there. Hang on, folks. There we go. If you're going to use a material as a base, these platforms are probably still your best choice, in my opinion, for floating aircraft. So if you have the ability, use these. You can stand on these. You know, you see I'm not going into the water. If I go one direction, at the very end of it, it's not letting me sink. It's still keeping me pretty stable. So to me, these are still your best choices. The other thing that I noticed that was good about those platforms is they used to require flexwood as a resource to make them, and now they only require planks. So even the large one, 4 planks. And so that's one of the big changes in the game, is now instead of being flexwood to make them, they only require planks. So you can make them as a tier 1 essentially type of build, not having to work as hard. So hopefully that helps with the floating physics side of the house. And I'm not too sure. I haven't heard much about this affecting people in their balloons, or not balloons, but boats. I can head over by my boat. Hang on, let me head that way. Let me head over by my boat and see how that's doing. That's over here in my shore biome. I had a lot of fun with this. I actually just sailed for a long time in the water just to sail. And Level Up Royal is on the stream as well. And he could tell you his favorite part of the boat, which is in the front, the cooler section. Don't look at that. All right, so we've got our loungers and we've got our seats and the cooler. We got our fishing rods. We are ready to go. Let's take it out for a spin. And so our boat is still floating real good. Some of the pieces aren't attached the way it used to be, but you know, hey, whatever. I got my life rafts floating in the middle of it for some reason. So this particular boat, I'll just come off to the side. I do use floating platforms on the bottom as the base. It is actually it is a lot higher than it used to be. So the floating dynamics are definitely different now. Hi Angie, welcome to the stream. So yeah, and then if you look at the inside or the carriage of this boat, you'll see I got a couple of balloons keeping it afloat. And then that's it. No, that is not true. So underneath this whole section is a complete area of hidden balloons that are upright, and same thing with the whole front of the boat. I don't know what the difference is between bow and starboard, but front of the boat, back of the boat. And so yeah, so I have balloons that are hidden, and which means I could probably, let me break these to see if it maintains the floating. Yeah, the water level is still good, which means I can remove some additional buoyancy on this one. So I'm going to fix that. I'm going to fix that because I didn't want any balloons exposed, and I had to add 2. It looks like your view will auto-align in both. So anything you're driving in a seat, I'm going to bring it up to the dock. All right, here we go. All right, so yeah, floating physics are a little bit different. Same with this boat. This boat used to be in the water pretty heavily. And so with all of these balloons, yeah, interesting. Okay. So there might be a new dimension to the floating physics. We'll get that figured out. The other thing that's new, which is great, is going to be the swivels. There we go. The swivels, if 2 are attached and touching the ground, those no longer make all those crazy crashing noises. So Level Up Royal, I know you're listening, that's going to play a huge role in the noises that you hear in maybe roller coaster rides. Those should almost be gone at this point. So I just wanted to share that with everybody. So let's see, we tested Physical weight, floating weight, frostpine not breaking, granite no longer breaks by hand. Auto farming, I don't know if everybody knows right now. I'm not too sure if it is a bug or not. But if you have an auto farm, you are not getting essence from that as well. So I'm hoping that changes. The auto farming is still working for me, but I am not getting any essence from my farms on that in particular. So that is another change. Let's see what else. That's about all I've really noticed in the game. I did do a video on all the new tool making that released yesterday as well. And so if you come here, tool making is definitely different when you go to make any tool, whether or not it's a pickaxe. If you see it subdued there, you'll see that you can do a multitude of materials. So that's another big change in the game. So if I wanted to make a sword, I can select the type of material for the actual blade itself, and that's going to give you different attributes. So if you make it out of ruby, for example, it's going to have higher damage, durability. But then if you change it to, let's say you want a green one out of emerald, you'll see that the knockback goes up and the speed goes down. So you'll compare the two attributes, speed being how quickly you swing it and wield it, knockback being that effect on an enemy when you hit them with it, how far they push back. Damage and durability between these two materials remain the same. And then if you start looking at amber, amber has the same amount of damage, but it is definitely more durable, not as much of a knockback effect. How much do I really need to worry about a knockback effect? Not in all cases. Do I worry about the knockback effect? Speed can play a role depending on the enemy you're going after, so that's something to consider. Other things that play a role. So if you look at sapphire, you'll see that has good damage, good durability, knockback. But one of the big advantages to sapphire compared to the other materials is going to be in the bottom right hand side with the runes. So if you build it out of amber, you're only allowed to put 2 runes on it based on this material, the blade. Okay, so across amber, emerald, and sapphire, you can add 2 runes, but if you go to sapphire, you can add 3 runes. If you defeat the Storm King, you have the ability to make a Shatterhorn version of the sword, and you'll see that it does give you 3 slots, but one of them is automatically taken by the zapping rune that gets added as well. And so that zapping rune is really neat. I've tested this on another sword of mine in my survival world now. If you kill an enemy, you're going to get this electricity zap effect that kills enemies that are around you. Now this comes in great importance when you're going into the storm caves right now and you're getting flooded by a few different enemies, or just a cave in general. That zapping effect will potentially kill the enemies or eliminate the enemies that are in and around that area as well. So that zapping effect is pretty OP in my opinion. So we're going to start with a sapphire sword, and that's going to be the base material of the blade itself. And then if we go to the hilt or the handle portion, this also plays an important role. So if we build it out of wood, we can see that the durability does go up a hair. If we make it out of gold, you'll see that the durability, or copper, you'll see that the durability does go up substantially, and so does the speed. If you add gold, speed stays the same, durability goes up, but here's one clear advantage to this configuration, is now you have a 4th rune slot that opens up for this particular sword. Okay, this will also apply if you're building a pickaxe. You may have the potential to have a 4 rune slotted tool to use in particular. So if I build this sword right now and I select gold, I'm going to have 4 rune slots available. And so now I have this, and I'm going to take it over to my rune forge, in which I have the ability to go ahead and add luck right now. I'm going to be honest, this is a real good one going into the caves. because luck, they're dropping those forge crystals. The storm enemies inside those storm caves, they're dropping forge crystals, so the luck plays a huge role in that. So I'm going to add that. And then I'm going to definitely want durability, to add some additional durability on it. And then destruction. Let me get back out here. Okay, destruction. Why this plays a role. If you're going in after the Storm King, okay, if you're going to go after the Storm King, the horns or the weak points are going to light up. I found this out later on. Void was the one that found this out, so I give credit to the Void definitely for this one. But if you have the destruction rune on your tools, there's a possibility that you will destroy those weak points or the horn with just one hit on the Storm King. So if you're equipping yourself to go in after the Storm King, this is going to be one of those ones that you definitely want to have in place. And then of course the very last one that we're going to want is damage. So we're going to go ahead and re-roll till we get damage. Damage 3. Okay, here we go. And so we got now damage 3. And so now, in my opinion, you have a sword that gives you the ability to have your enemies drop a lot of that storm crystal, which you're going to need for builds, especially with the legendary forge. You have the added durability, the instant destruction against your enemy, and damage 3. Why wouldn't you build this sword constantly? Well, you may not have the material resources to do such. There are means of creating a sword that has a little bit higher damage on some of the other materials, or if you want something with more durability. Depends what you want going into battle. Right now, to me, this is probably the combination that you're going to want to have equipped, because you can have the 4 runes in place. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense and help for everybody. And yeah, it looks pretty cool. I don't know why it's bigger than I am, but yeah, so we have this sword. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take it over to our forge. If I can find the forge, here it is. We're going to want to take it over to our forge. Come over here. We're going to, that's these rift crystals. This is what I was talking about. This is going to be a valuable resource to go in there and farm on a regular. So I think you can go into the storm caves once every hour or so on. You go into those storm caves. You can farm additional rift crystals over a period of time. Go in, get these, because these are what's going to turn your tools into the higher rarity. So I'm going to select it, apply. And so now this tool then becomes rifted. You'll see that the durability goes up, more importantly. And then if you look at the health bar there at the bottom, it looks like it has nothing. But what's happening is the more you use this sword in particular, so you're going there, you're getting enemies, you will actually see that bar charge up. As that bar charges up, once it makes it to the very end, the sword is going to then become even stronger than what it is right now. It's going to become a legendary version of this, of itself. It's going to have more damage, more everything, and you'll be able to coast through all of the attacks very well. So if you ask me, what is the strategy going into fighting the Storm King? So when I go to do this in my expert world to go after that new trophy, what I'm going to end up doing is building this exact configuration you see here on this particular sword, and then I'm going to start fighting to the point to where I get this to the legendary state. And that's what I'm going into the Storm King with. Okay, so I'm going to be doing this both for a sword, and then I'll be doing the exact same build, but for a crossbow as well. So you'll see I'm going to pick the sapphire, and I'm going to build the stock out of the gold. I'm going to head back over here to the runes. I'm going to take that same build, and then I'm going to go ahead and apply a lot of the same runes that you saw me do for the sword. This time I'm going to want to focus on definitely durability for sure, damage for sure, and you luck and health on the bow, it's going to go back and forth. The healing items, this may come in important if you're going to want some of that storm fruit. Storm fruit's going to be very important also to collect. You cannot take the storm fruit, put it in your cedar and get seeds from it and plant it. You can't plant it. That's a big thing. You can only collect it. You can only get it from the plants within those storm cave areas that are surrounded, or if you fight the enemies, they'll occasionally drop it as well. So that's where the health 3 rune will come into play, because they'll be dropping more of that storm fruit. So if you want to put that over luck, luck if you want crystals, health if you want that storm fruit. So I'm going to go ahead and put that in place, and then you're still going to want that high royal. Let's see, I've already got damage, and so I'm going to want the destruction. Here we go. So destruction, and so this is going to be my bow setup going in as well. You asked me what tools do I need to go fight the Storm King. At the end of the day, all I used was sword and bow. That's all I used. Sir Laugh-a-Lot, he'll tell you I didn't even go in and use a shield at all when I did the battle. I'm more of a strike and dodge, or strike, take lots of hits, run and heal kind of person. It's one or the other. There's no in between. But that's the way I typically fight. So I have my sword equipped, my bow equipped. Bring plenty arrows. My suggestion would be to stock up and bring in about 240 arrows. You are going to get a lot of arrows on your journey inside of the storm caves, but you're going to want to make sure that you're stocked up to the point to where you have the ability to fire arrows as much as possible. So the good thing about having these weapons when you go into the legendary state, so I haven't done the crossbow yet. I'm going to go ahead and apply this. So as I go on battle and I use these in particular, it's going to start getting itself and working itself towards that legendary state. So when you use the forge, it's not going to make them legendary right off the bat. You have to use those weapons in order to get them to the legendary state. But I tell you what, when they are in the legendary state, they are on another level. So they are definitely worth it. It's going to take some time to grind, but if you're going to want to go into that Storm King in your expert world, to me, this is the route you're going to have to do. Or you're going to have to be very extra cautious, I guess, doing it the other way. Heals, that's going to be another big one. Heals have changed. Before, let's see, let me get into my inventory. If you look at heals in general, the pizza's still going to give you the 5 extra hearts. Where we go? Here we go. The pizza's still going to give you, or the 4 additional hearts. It used to be 5. Gives you the additional hearts to go into battle with. That's great, but it takes a very long time to eat pizza. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead. You see, it's taking 5 seconds to eat a pizza. Okay, that is too long for the battle. The new quick heal is going to be the storm fruit nectar. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and add some of these. You're going to see how quickly they actually consume. So these have the ability to give you 4+ hearts. So if you're down low, these are only going to give you 4 hearts. Now you say, oh, that's not much. Chillberry shakes gave you more, and the answer is no, they not anymore. They do. And so yeah, you're going to want to build these quickly, and then watch how quickly they take in. 1 second, you're done. Okay, if you compared that to the previous one, which is going to be the fried eggs. Okay, fried eggs used to power up and give you 4 hearts, I believe it was before. They powered you up pretty quickly, and it was a quick intake. So about the same as the storm fruit shakes there, but you're only getting 1.5 hearts now with the fried egg. So that's something else to consider. When we were doing a lot of the other challenges, the Hungry Games, that was great. We focused on having the fried eggs because that healed us quickly enough. These fast heals are very important. If you go to take out, let's say you go to Lost Isles and you're going after the Expert World trophy on the golems, you could do it with 3 hearts if you want. It's not going to be 2 hits. It's always going to be 2 hits because the first hit, even though it can take 8 hearts off of your health, for example, you will still be left with 1/4 of a heart. So you can never be 1 hit in terms of that action. So if you get hit in his rolling punch, you could take the eggs and continue because it's a quick heal. And so that's real important in terms of gameplay. The storm shakes are going to be the same way. If you eat the fruit themselves, it only gives you the 1 heart, but it adds 10 seconds of storm health. I'll talk about that here in a second. And then other items, if you consume hamburger, only gives you 2 additional hearts. Let's see, coconuts 1.5. Sushi will give you plus 2 hearts now and heal for 2. Let's see, other quick heals, 3.5 hearts on the chillberry ice cream. So if you have the capacity to make ice cream, this was also a decently quick heal as well. Not terrible, but it's 3.5 hearts and also cheap to produce. Let's see, meat will only give you 1.5 extra hearts now. It's not going to give you the 2. What else? The spicy ice cream, 3 hearts. Here's where I was talking about the chillberry shakes. Those used to fill up your entire bar. That was great in terms of gameplay. When you're going after, you can run away. It took about 3 seconds to heal, and I think that has not changed. Slap juice will give you 1 extra heart. And so bottom line right now, the best heal in the game in terms of speed, well, these are actually pretty good too. Hang on, let me go here. We're going to add both of these to the inventory. Okay, so your tropical smoothie, it takes 2 seconds, heal you for 3.5. That's good. If you compare that to chillberry, 1 second. So if you going into a match, and all you have right now is chillberries, just know going in, it's not going to fill your entire health bar. It's only going to give you 3.5 hearts. If you're still trying to build up your storm shakes, chillberries are the way to go. Chillberry shakes are the way to go right now because you can go out to your farm, you can put chillberries in there with your cows, and they're going to give you the shakes. So that's still good. So last lot, when we paired up together, we went in and we took out all 3 caves. I think we started off with 45 or 60 shakes each, and we still had maybe 20 when we finished all the challenges, basically. So this was our heal of choice. It's still quick, but we found out very, very quickly, because we didn't go in and look at the game physics, but we went in and found out real quickly that it only healed you for 3.5 hearts, so we had to take that into consideration. But it is a 1 second heal, so the only advantage is the storm shakes will do 4, so just know you're good. In terms of charms, there has definitely been a change. If you look at my health at the top, the first noticeable difference is armor. So even in survival and in sandbox mode and now in expert mode, your armor is now different. So using 3 of the regen charms, which at one point were the best in the game, you actually had 42 worth of armor, and now it's down to 8, I believe. And so there is a new legendary charm that you can equip, which I have here for me in sandbox mode. And the new legendary charm is going to be the storm charm, and you can only make these by getting Shatterhorn fragments. Okay, Shatterhorn fragments. What this particular charm will do is it will give you 4+ hearts, whereas now the regen charm only gives you 3. So the regen charm used to give you 4. It's only giving you 3 now. It does still regenerate. So Sir Lancelot and I, we both used the regen charms when we went in to the Storm King and fought all everything. The regen makes a difference. Okay, so there's definitely an advantage to that. But you don't have any of the storm resistance. So if you're stuck in the storm prior to going into the caves, it's rough, because the regen storms are healing you, but it doesn't prevent you from getting rifted out of the storm. Okay, you'll have that timer there at your top. If you make any of these charms, so if you make a storm charm, you'll notice that it's going to give you 2 extra hearts. This one you can make right away using some of the more common materials you can get around the storm without even going in. So you can make this particular charm. It's going to increase your armor just a little bit, but it's also going to reduce the effects of the storm energy attacks. Now, it's going to be a timer that appears at the top of your screen. For each one of these charms you equip, I think it's, I don't know, a minute or something like that. I haven't experimented with the time in particular, but when you go in, it will increase that time. The only way to redo that or to reset that timer is going to be through the use of those storm fruit smoothies that you make, the shakes. If you make those and you equip them, it's going to reset your timer each and every time you drink one. And so what Sir Lancelot and I did was we kept our regen charms equipped. We didn't go after making any of these storm charms. We just kept those regen charms equipped, and we would drink shakes as we ran in. So as the timer would get down to about 5 seconds, we'd drink the shake. That plays a huge role. So you can drink a shake, fight for 25 seconds, drink a shake, fight for 25 seconds, drink a shake, fight for 25 seconds. If anything, if you are literally just running to get to the storm cave, you'll need 2 shakes just to get to it. So the storm fruit smoothies or shakes, I forget what they're called. You'll need 2 of them just to make it to that point. Once you make it into the cave, you no longer need those storm shakes. Once you're in, the storm is not affecting you anymore. So there's no need for a storm charm inside of the caves or anything like that, or anything to worry about. That has everything to do with the storm caves or even fighting the Storm King. So equipping this charm is not a high priority in your worlds, but if you want to, that's great. I'm not stopping you. It's still a health charm that gives you additional hearts. Great. Eventually you can equip yourself with these particular charms once you defeat the Storm King several times. So it's going to take you at least 3 times of defeating the Storm King to make these storm charms. These do not regen your health. Yeah, if you have a hard time finding the entrance, yes, it's going to take more shakes, that's for sure. So if you take out the Storm King 3 times, you're going to end up with 3 Shatterhorn fragments. You'll be able to make this legendary charm. This will give you the 4 extra hearts times 3 for the 3 different charms, and you get 3 shield for each one. Why do I say that's different in expert mode? Because now in expert mode you are getting shield for the first time, or armor. So that didn't happen before. So now in expert mode you're getting some of it. So benefit to expert mode for sure. But in all your other modes you'll see that your health is now down. So I'm getting 9 armor for having those equipped. If I go back and look at the regen charms, it's giving you 3, so 3 armor, so that's 9 armor with the regen charms, 9 with the legendary charm. It's not anymore, but the difference is going to be in the hearts. So you'll get 9 hearts extra with the regen, but you'll end up having 12 hearts extra with the storm charms. That's the advantage. If you ask me which one I still prefer, the regen definitely helps you because you're not having to worry about heals. Maybe you're worried about getting hungry. The regen's going to, make up for that. If you're taking heat damage, cold damage, in extreme cases, then the regen charms will play a role in that. But they did change the heat and cold as well. So that's something to take into consideration. I'm not sure which one I'd still run. I have them equipped in sandbox mode. I'm going to turn on all enemies and everything else for a period of time so I can do some testing with that as well. But for right now, for the most part, the regen charms, in my opinion, are still the way to go, and just focus on getting those what are these called? Storm fruit nectar. So I'm going to keep calling them storm shakes, but it's storm fruit nectar. Focus on getting these, and once you have these, you're set. You're set to go into these storms. You're set to go after everything, and you're going to be good to go. Let me see. Anything else that really changed? All the equipment is pretty much the same. I explained the storm, the legendary forge a little bit, and how it works. I don't know this for sure, but I can see the legendary forge being used for other things later on. Let's see. Oh, yeah, here's some more game mechanics that did change as well. If you're using the metal smelter and you're wanting to make some iron bar, no longer does it take bright core. Okay, so you have the ability to go ahead and put your iron, your rough iron in, and then you can throw in any type of wood. And so I forgot who brought it up earlier, saying all the materials are uncommon. In a sense, they are, because you can select any materials you may have to throw in here to make iron bar. It does not have to be regular wood. It could be frost pine. It could be flex wood. Doesn't matter. It's going to burn it. It's going to take 2 pieces of wood now instead of 2 bright core. So that's, to me, a huge change that I like, especially. And then, metal plate was added. This is a big one. Okay, so metal plate is going to be used for making a multitude of different new stuff. If you look at the new chests that are in the game, you're going to see that they are going to require metal plate. You're going to see other items are going to require metal plate as well that didn't used to before. And so I believe the oven is one of them. Let's see. Yeah, the oven requires metal plate to make. The metal smelter doesn't, because you need it to make metal plate. So the oven does. A lot of your chests do. The Rebel workbench has not changed. Let's see. Your looms are different materials. Let's see. This only takes no more does it require sand claws to make, or just regular wolf claws. And then the loom no longer takes sand claws either. And so the 2 looms are easier to make, early on in the game, as opposed to waiting down the road. The gem cutter, the materials that it takes to make it now, to me, is a little rougher. It takes 3 snow brute scales, and then you'll see metal plate comes into play here. So that they're trying to focus on the upper level resources of this later game. So that's why the gem cutter got added later, for later game type resources when you're fighting in. The juicer, less resources to make now as well. The grain mill, that never required sandstone. That part I remember. So just different resources there. The stone breaker, less resources. What we noticed, the lumber mill takes 40 wood now. And hi Askins, welcome to the stream. The lumber mill requires 40 wood to make. This is a big change. Those of us that did a lot of the challenges, we would build lumber millages, So we drop a bunch of lumber mills to be able to upgrade villages pretty quickly, but it used to be a combination of just lumber and granite, and it was a lot less. So now it being 40 lumber, this may not be the right choice. So if you're going to take the other approach, which is making a grillage, this used to be, at one point in the very beginning, this used to be 35 granite, then it switched to, I think, 30 granite and a torch. And now to make a grill, it's only going to require 6 planks and a torch. So if you're going to work on upgrading a village pretty quickly, or a village area pretty quickly, grills seem to be the way to go, except you're going to need a lot of planks to go around. And then your crafting bench now is just 6 wood. It no longer requires any granite at all. 10 planks for the barn, that did not change, and the compost bin did not change. Let's see. Let's see, that covers about everything. The runes, yes, there are new runes. Let me make a weapon here. I'm going to make it this and this and this. Okay, we're just making something. Okay, can't use rune on that one. All right. I gotta hit make. Hang on. All right, now we got something here. If you go through the runes, there are new runes. Let me just. I didn't have to go through all that. Let's get to all the runes. Okay, so we have a lot of new runes, and it's going to come in the form of the storm rune tomes. The only place you're going to get the storm rune tomes is by going into the storm caves and getting those chests. When you as you defeat each level, you're going to be getting rewarded with a chest. When you open those chests, there's a possibility of receiving one of these rune recipe books. And these tomes, as you read them, will start opening up some of the new rune tomes. So lifesteal, this is one of the new ones in particular. So as you defeat an enemy, you essentially get healed a little bit. So this is like a siphon. If you play Battle Royale, this is the equivalent to siphon. So this helps a little bit if you want to equip that as well. The zapping one that I talked about earlier that I'm putting on my sword as a regular thing, this is pretty awesome. This will trigger a bolt of lightning and get enemies around you as well. So that's, to me, pretty cool. The damage and destruction, very important. And this is going to be Stormbane. Increased damage to storm wild enemies. This I have not unlocked yet in my survival world. This is what I'm trying to get to. This is going to be one that I will essentially equip in place of luck, most likely, once I get this rune. So the Stormbane 3 rune is going to be an important one to equip for your swords or devices that you go into storm with. Last chances. It's going to increase damage when a weapon or tool is close to breaking. So would you really use this? I don't know. As your weapon hits red, I believe at that point is when the damage will increase for that particular tool. Whether or not that may be helpful or not, I don't want to wait to have damage at the very end, personally. But yeah, it's a new rune in the system. Durability has always been there, and luck has always been there. Storm Purification, this is a new rune. This can come in handy. If you want to put this on tools, if you don't have a lot of the new storm nectars, I got it right that time. If you don't have any of the storm nectars, this is going to refill your storm timer. Okay, so as you kill an enemy, you're going to see your timer go back up. This may be a good substitute in favor of not having those nectars. So something to consider. And then the force. So this is something also to go in. There's some enemies that will really get all up in your grill. Okay, if they start swarming you, the knockback effect, if you put this on a tool, will push them back away from you. This may make a huge difference if you get swarmed by, say, 3 at the same time. Taking one hit can be pretty damaging, but if you have 3 that come and knock you all at the same time, you can watch your entire health bar just disappear in a split second. Let's say you're at night, you're in a frost biome and skeletons are coming after you. They can knock you down really quick if they gang up on you. And so the knockback effect, if you just hit them with this, may be a huge benefit. So it's something to consider. But again, if you ask me, the biggest thing here is going to be the Stormbane for sure, for me in particular, and then the zapping. Those 2 are going to be runes that I'm going to equip on my tools for sure. And if you go to my sword, my combination for sure moving forward is always going to be the sapphire sword with the gold hilt. This combination, like I said, allows you to put 4 of those runes, so you'll be able to stack this stuff up pretty well. And so I'm hoping this helps everybody. This combination right here is probably the best to go in. If you just take a little bit of time and farm up materials and stuff like that, this is going to play. This is going to play a huge role if you're going in at it in your expert world. So just pay more mindful attention to all of this. That's going to be, one of the next steps that I take is going to be attempting this whole same challenge, but in expert, to go after that trophy. But I'm going to make sure I'm kitted up pretty good going in as well. So will I change my strategy a little bit in terms of health charms? I don't know quite yet. That's why I have these new ones equipped in my sandbox. I'm going to be playing around with them a little bit with the enemies and figuring out the heal ratio type of environment, and then I'm going to do the exact same thing but go back in with regen charms and see how I like the difference. So I'm already equipped with regen charms on the expert world side, not on the expert side, having the new legendary ones, but I'm not, because then that would have mean I've defeated it 3 times. So really it's just all about learning strategy going in, and tools are going to play an important role in that. And that's why I wanted to spend a few minutes with everybody and kind of walk everybody through those combinations to go in. Is there other combinations that might be better beneficial for you? Absolutely. If you find something that works for you, or maybe you want to color coordinate your outfit going into battle, right? Because I'm going to be honest, that could be very important. I say that because we now have the ability to build new chests. So based on materials, so I could build the same chest out of the different materials: amber, emerald, ruby, and sapphire. And so all of these hold 28 slots. That's really good. If you haven't noticed as well, in your inventory, we've went from 32 slots to 40, so that's a welcome addition as well, being able to house that. But why do I bring up the chests in particular? Well, because now you get to color coordinate your vehicles if you want, or you may just like green. And I like the red, I like the blue. I don't know, they're all cool, and they have more slots. So these are 28 slots. If you compare that to a grand chest, the grand chest only has 24, and all of the new ones have 28. So you get 4 additional slots in these color chests. So it will use those new resources, those heavier resources. So cut emerald for green, cut ruby for red, cut sapphire for blue, and cut amber obviously for the yellow. So out of all of them, they all require 4 each of the stones cut. So if you have one more than another, great. If you have yourself an abundance of ruby, for example, because at one point instead of the runes, we all had to use ruby to put the better attack power on our tools. And so we farmed up a whole bunch of ruby. I was not as skillful as Haskins the Rubinator in finding ruby. He had a knack for it. I had to work for it and find it, but I eventually got myself to where I found a lot of ruby and stacked up on it, and then they made the change with the runes, and it seemed like ruby was good for nothing at that point. So I had a whole slew of it, and that's okay, because now there is a reason to have all of these different gems. Okay, so it looks like the material that you may have a plenty of that is no longer of huge value is going to be bright core as of right now. But bright core is still used in a lot of your lights. So at the very minimum, if you have a ton of bright core, feel free to start making all the different lights you ever wanted to with it for a while. So yeah, let's see what else. I think that covers it in terms of game physics. I hope this really kind of explained a lot of different things. We talked about weight, we talked about the floating principles on the materials and how that affected the game. So you could see just same stacks, granite being lighter than wood in terms of how it floats, and marble being the heaviest out of all three. But then you saw that if it is attached to a vehicle with no balloons at all, the material weigh the same in terms of size. So the difference is when a balloon is active is when that parameter changes inside the game. So hopefully that is helpful for you if you're going to building new airships. In terms of floating physics, you see that there is a difference with the tires. There was a difference in terms of how the tires reacted and the difference between the new platforms. So as long as tires are equipped, it didn't have to be on the sides. It doesn't have to be on the bottom. Those mechanics are still the same between the two. The new platforms did not offer any form of additional flotation, maybe just a hair, but they look cooler. And so that's good to know. And then the best choice for starting with a base on floating platforms is still going to be the standard ones that came in the game to begin with. We talked about heals in terms of how quick they are and what they can and can't do for you now. And then we also went over all the different weapons and tools that are in the game now, and how to make them in particular, and what may or may not be more of a benefit for you. We also talked about color coordinating it. So if you just like having a red sword, by all means make a red sword and go out there and fight with it. I mean, if it's just a little less durable, yeah, so what? You'll take out 99 enemies instead of 100, right? But you're going to have a cool looking red sword. So yeah. And then the resources for the different items, we talked about all of that. And then we also went over the differences in what Frostpine does now versus what it did before. That's kind of a bummer, but it still holds all the strength in terms of, running over objects and not breaking easily. We did talk about the physics in terms of the tires and the weight associated with that and how it may or may not have affected your aircraft. And you see the different types, and in terms of in the very beginning we went over me adjusting this aircraft to having just one balloon from two, and that rebalanced this one back out. And we talked about the differences in the types of aircraft. So this is a non-terminal height aircraft. It has thrusters that help assist going up. And then we talked about this particular aircraft, which is terminal height, in which the balloons are what gives it its lift. There's no thrusters that take it up. So terminal height planes are adjusted differently as a result of this new update. They will go a little higher, but that is about it. And stability and steering, thankfully, are the same. That was not the case yesterday. I have a feeling that Epic had pushed an update or quality of life change already with regards to that. Because the first time I went into a flying machine yesterday morning and went to take off, the moment I tried to turn, it just went completely squirrely, and that is not the case today. So I'm happy to report that that is a benefit now. And yeah, that's about it. I had every intent of going into battle the Storm King with a new airship, and this was one of them right here. This was one of the designs. My idea was to hover over him and just blast cannonballs downward. So I had this on the ready, and I would have built it, but the Storm King is a little bit different. It's forcing you to fight, battle down below. So I was ready. I mean, imagine 4 cannonballs falling down from the sky each time you pull that trigger. That would have been awesome. I did some testing. Had a neighborhood over there that does not look the same anymore. In fact, it looks a lot worse than what it started off as. So yeah, so everybody, thanks for joining me on this stream. I'm going to be streaming pretty regularly here over the course of the next few weeks. I am on my long vacation break from work, and I do not have to be back until January 6th. So in that time, I get to spend all my time just online if I want, or playing the game quite frequently and having a lot of fun. So be on the lookout for more streams. I'll be covering different topics as we move along. On my list already, I do have some different things that we're working on. I do have a community server that I've been doing builds with some of the people that are on stream, and so I'm going to be showing those off as we move along. I am also working on a new challenge that I'll be inviting people in to come in and perform specific tasks in that community server map as well. So that'll be part of a challenge, a community challenge. And so for that, I'll be doing kind of a giveaway, V-Bucks gift card for the winner of that as well. So stay tuned for that particular challenge. That's going to be a lot of fun. Let's see what else. So on the docket, if you ever wanted to get into map making on your own, so if you wanted to, build your own maps, I'm probably going to do one demonstration in Creative 1.0 on map making. This way, if you happen to be on console, you'll still have the ability to learn what it's like to build maps. And so I'll show you how to make a map in Creative 1.0, which is built into the game. And then I'm also going to be doing a stream. It's probably going to be a series of a few different streams where I will be making custom maps in UEFN. And so using the UEFN, we're going to make a custom map. I have an idea of what I wanted to do for that. It's going to be probably a cool little PvP map. And we're going to have fun with that, build these maps, and then we can all play together and hopefully help launch that one as well. If in the meantime, if you want to check out one of the maps that I do have active, it is Paintball Wars. Or Paintball Battle Arena. Sorry about that. Paintball Battle Arena. So if you go on to search the Lego Fortnite maps, you can go find the Paintball Battle Arena. That's a custom map that I have released right now. That's the only one I have active. I've turned the other ones off for now, but we'll be able to link up. I think that's going to end up being one of the sessions that we'll end up having fun with as well. We're going to play on these maps. One of the other things is I've been seeing a lot of these, launches lately for Starlink, and we're going to get together and we're going to build our own version of a rocket and take off. But it's going to be the Lego Fortnite Link headquarters, and we're going to launch a rocket and see if we can attempt catching it maybe with 2 arms. I don't know. We're going to give it a go. Should be a lot of fun. And then if I have time, I'm going to build what will eventually become my new testing ground as well, because this one's starting to get a little cluttered with a lot of different things. So I'm going to build what I'm going to title as Grimy Land, which will be my new sandbox mode as well. So got lots of stuff to go over the course of the next few weeks, and of course in the middle of that I'm going to be showcasing a lot of the builders that come in and have been part of the community server as well. And so I know Panda's on here right now. He's been one of the community builders that have been doing some absolutely amazing builds within the community server. And so I'm going to be spending some time to showcase those builds as well. So if you want to get in on the action as well, if you like just coming in and hanging out and being part of the build, by all means, keep an eye and look out for those future streams. And so, yeah. This has definitely been fun. I was targeting kind of 2 hours for all of this. I'm just below that, so I'm as we like to say, giving a bit of your time back. I don't know if that's the way to best look at it, but yeah, I think I'm going to switch gears. I'm going to go back in and experiment and have a little bit more fun in the game. So I truly appreciate all of you for taking the time and joining me on this particular live stream. And yeah, I hope you learned a lot and had a lot of good takeaways from this. And in the future, don't hesitate to stop by, say hello, and take part in the streams. So until next time, everybody, please have an amazing day and have fun playing the game. I know I've been pretty excited about these updates myself, and I hope you all are as well. So until next time, everyone, don't forget to keep gaming in your crosshairs.